Hi all, and welcome again to the Sweet Talks podcast. My name is Chantel.
Vienna.
And Nikima.
So thank you guys for joining us. Today, actually, what we were going to discuss, it was an interesting topic before we actually started recording, so the actual topic got changed to what if you find your client attractive?
American accent there.
So I think Nikima was leading on this one. So Nikima, what were you talking about in terms of finding your clients attractive? Possibly.
What do you do when you find your client attractive? Obviously, you do therapy, clearly.
I should hope so.
But obviously, there's different levels to attractiveness as well. I think that's important. Like, self-disclosure.
Oh, Lord.
It's all, keep it clean.
Yeah.
So I found my ex-patient or client, I like to say client, attractive. Very, very, very handsome. Very handsome indeed. And I was a little bit more nervous in the session, and I think it's because I found him attractive.
Right.
But I was very cautious that, I wanted it I wanted to be the best therapist that I could be. Obviously, because I know I was a little bit more anxious, a bit more nervous in the session. But it was good. It was good. In the end, I believe he must have not returned after like 4 or 5 sessions or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I just found it really interesting, my reactions and how I reflected whilst I was in practice and afterwards a lot, and took it to supervision.
What happened in supervision with that one?
Well,
we're not really supposed to talk about it. But
the outcome was just fine. It's whatever. We talked about the levels of which I found them attractive, and it was, from my perspective and the supervisor, it was nothing to worry about.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about at all. But then it made me think, actually, what if I found a client extremely attractive? I think I'd have to say, sorry, I can't do therapy with you.
Good.
Keep it moving. Sorry.
Good.
I'd have to. Most definitely have to. But for him, he was just very nice to look at. Very nice to look at indeed. I wonder if any of you two have ever had an experience where you found them attractive in any level, whether it's absolutely fully attractive or actually he's quite handsome or she's quite handsome, depending on what floats your boat.
Well, I know what floats my boat and no. No, not personally. I haven't. I've found that I like personalities. Like there's some people that I end up thinking that, that's such a nice person. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I actually wish that I didn't meet them in therapy, because then I could have been like friends with them, chilled out with them. I remember actually having one client at one point who she was saying that she found it hard to make friends and stuff. But while I was talking, I was like, she's actually an amazing chick. I was like, she should join. Do you remember that little club that we had where it was all of us as therapists from yeah. Sorry. When it was like that kind of time, I was like, oh, she'd fit right in. We'd give her back her self-esteem. And I was thinking, oh God, why didn't I meet you outside of them? Yeah. And she was actually really nice. She was living in a predominantly Caucasian area. Okay. But she said she found it really hard to make friends, and it was just something that she just found really, really difficult.
Did she ever talk about kind of like prejudice or possibly racism or white
She
supremacy?
did. Not really white supremacy, but she did talk about having prejudices around her and stuff like that. And that, like, I think there was one friend she said that she had that would make fun of her, but would make it seem like it was a jest kind of thing. So,
like it's banter. Like,
it's banter. It's only balance.
Don't take it serious. We're only joking.
Exactly that.
Or microaggressions, man.
Yeah, exactly
Horrible.
that. Sorry.
Worse.
Yeah, I felt it for her, to be honest with you. I felt like she would have been really... she really would have benefited from just having some good, friendly sisters around her. And, yeah. But I do find myself like finding some clients that I do really, really like. In fact, there was another client that I had who had, what do you call it? Hypersexuality. Oh. You know, like you got some people that have hypersexuality when they're depressed. So usually it gets rid of. Usually depression affects people's libido. But for him, it was almost like something he would be chasing in order to try and get a positive feeling.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like my ex. You knew the story, guys. Gosh. Oh, Lord.
Oh, God. We won't go there.
We're not going to go there.
Not at all.
God bless everybody.
Sorry. But with him, like, he actually was a really nice person. He wanted to try and stop in order to basically be faithful to his partner. And, like, because I think he had a kid coming with her as well. He just really wanted to stop because he just didn't want that anymore. And I really liked him. He was so cool.
Genuinely nice guys.
Yeah.
Genuinely nice girls.
Yeah.
Attracted to their
personalities and kind of having wished that I'd met them outside of the realm of therapy with them.
I get that.
Yeah. What about you, Riri?
Get it, girl.
I'm no longer practicing therapy like you two at the minute.
You're not doing one?
I'm not practicing at the minute.
Oh, sorry.
But I will say, when I was, there was loads of young women that I met that I thought, oh my gosh, we could be so good friends. Like, or we could be like the best of friends. You know what I mean? Like, you'd fit in with my girl group here, this other group there. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, we were great friends. And I also had the moments of, I really wish I didn't meet you here. Why? Damn it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really wish we would have met outside of this setting.
You probably would have met them in
no,
at all,
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have at all. But especially when we were supporting a lot of students, I know I wouldn't have met them because a lot of them are traveling from here, there, and everywhere. So
all over.
Yeah. So, but in terms of have I ever met anyone that I thought was attractive? Now, I've met people. I've supported males that I think I can appreciate their looks. I can appreciate they're good-looking people. And they're good-looking to somebody.
Sure.
But I've never personally been attracted to any of my clients. I do not think any of my clients have been attracted to me yet. So,
That's a good question. That's a flip side. That's a whole podcast.
No, it's this one because it's very. I remember when I was in my training, somebody asked this question, and I personally think it's very normal. I think it's normal for your clients to find you attractive because you're investing in their life. You're listening to the crooks and the, you know what I mean, and the deepest and darkest of stuff about them. You become a very big part of their life. And you provide them with all the things that they feel like they're missing.
Absolutely.
So it only makes sense that they're attracted to you, probably, or only makes sense that they may fall in love with you because that happens. And obviously it's down to us what we do with that, which is i.e. nothing or refer them elsewhere or whatnot. But I know I have never, in my role, found anybody attractive romantically. Like I said, I can appreciate their looks and whatnot, but no.
Yeah.
I feel quite lucky or quite either quite lucky or quite, I don't know, bad luck. It was nice to have someone who was handsome.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
You know?
Because you kept it professional, innit?
Oh, goodness.
So there's nothing wrong with it.
What's important
and
to me
is that supervision?
I don't want them. I wouldn't want that person to know. I'd be mortified.
They're never going to know. Well, don't listen to this. But they're never going to know. Well, they won't know who they are.
They won't know who it is because they haven't.
Yeah. But no, I think it's hard.
It was a very long time ago. I should say that. Maybe
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the thing is, like you said, you backed yourself and you secured yourself by going to supervision. And from when your supervisor said it's nothing, it's nothing. You know what I mean?
See, I'd like to know what you guys would do. I know that Rihanna was just talking about, like, if your client is attracted to you. So, because I have actually had a client, well, I've had 3 clients now.
Oh, gosh. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Don't be.
Excuse me. No, I've had 3 clients now tell me that. Well, 2 told me that they love me.
Okay.
And 1 told me that they're attracted to me.
Were they all men?
No.
Okay.
So 2 were men, 1 was a female.
Okay.
And yeah, I did have to refer them on, obviously.
Of course you did.
But
what age groups were they? What, were they similar age groups to you or younger or older?
the female was younger.
Mm-hmm.
The males, I think
remember?
1 was similar in age, the other one was older.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was
So-
that like to when the first time it happened?
The first time it happened, I was like, what is going on?
Was it the female or a male? Which one
The
was
male was the first one.
the older one or the similar age one?
Oh my gosh, she's getting in there.
Yeah, I
now.
mean, she's getting in there like swimwear, boy. The older one was the first one. Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
your response?
I had to take a minute. I'm not even gonna lie. I
Yeah.
kind of just like sat there with it for a second, and I was like,
Did he really just say that?
yeah, no, literally in my head, I was like, what the hell? Like, huh?
How did he say it? Like,
He basically, he was like, oh, he wants to look for somebody. He wants to be able to have a companion, and he wishes there was someone like me. In fact, if it could be me, that would be good. And I said, oh well, that couldn't happen because of
I'm your therapist.
yeah. And then,
I know, innit?
and then, he basically said like, oh, is there like a cooling off period kind of thing?
Hello. Yeah, 3 months. Wait 3 months, yeah, and I'll be at your door. Do you know what I mean?
Cool off. You need to cool off.
And then,
Cool it
then
down.
I had to say,
Sorry.
I was like, no, that just would go against all ethical practice whatsoever.
Oh.
So that cannot happen. And it creates a power. So I was actually trying
Power,
to
yeah.
explain the idea of power imbalances. So guys, power imbalances are basically when you enter into a relationship and someone has possibly more
Authority.
perceived power or more authority than the other. And me knowing quite a lot about him and him not knowing very much about me would have created a power imbalance. So in me trying to explain,
Message.
And
Yeah.
not only that, can I just jump
Go
in
ahead.
real quick? Not only that, that relationship would be like that romantic relationship would just be based on therapy, because every
It
time
really
there's an
would.
issue, he would then turn to you.
Message.
My therapist, my lover,
yeah,
help me, and you're looking
Pretty
at
much.
mate.
Savior.
Wash the dishes. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So this is the thing.
It is.
it is. It really is.
That's important.
Yeah,
I
But
just
yeah,
talk
so
to you
that
sometime,
was-
I'll tell you how I really feel. You're thinking,
yeah.
I asked you to do one thing.
I
Ernest.
actually,
One thing.
So anybody that's in a relationship that might think, actually, that sounds like something familiar, you know, get the power back or equal out the power balance.
yeah, definitely. So if it's happening in a regular relationship, oh god, we've got into relationships. So yeah, if it's happening in a regular relationship, then definitely try
context.
to make sure that is equaled out.
Have you, Rihanna,
Have I what?
experienced anybody or thought, oh, I think they might fancy me?
No, I really don't. If I think, no, I think I've had someone where I think they think I'll be a good friend to them. Like I've had a couple of girls that I think they actually want me
They're
to be their
attracted to
friend.
your-
Well, I wouldn't even use the word attracted, but I suppose in terms of friendship, yes, we're attracted to each other, as in we
Yeah,
are friends.
yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah,
attract
yeah,
you
yeah,
attract
yeah, course,
people,
course.
yeah, that are similar to you, whatever that you relate to. I remember a male that I was supporting, the one that I mentioned last week, the one with the music that he did. I think I don't know. I think he possibly saw me like as a sister or someone kind of like that. But that's it, really. No, I don't really think that. But I do think that to me, it's absolutely normal that your client may have feelings for you. I think it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
I think the responsibility is definitely on us to make that very, very clear. But I think it's a regular thing.
Yeah.
Same way, like, when you're in school and you fancy your teacher for, like, 2 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Davis is so, you know.
Yeah.
And then next year, you're like, who's that? Don't care about him anymore.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's just and I think also, remember, they're going through a lot. So each stage, they're uncovering something else. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a normal thing, but
I think so. I mean, obviously we told about it. It's transference, and I guess it's just trying to make sure that we handle our counter transference.
Yeah.
Appropriately. Yeah. Predominantly. But definitely.
I wonder how many people out there that are listening have been to counselling, and if you have been to counselling or some sort of therapy, have you found yourself attracted to your therapist?
Yes.
And also, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like
romantically.
And that doesn't mean that you need to start questioning your sexuality, for example. Just, are you attracted to the personality? Are you attracted to the vibes they're giving off? Do you know what I mean? Can you see yourself being friends with them?
Yeah.
Are they like a cousin to you, a sister to you? You know what I mean? Or brother or whatever.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I was attracted to my therapist, and it was her personality. She was the same ethnicity as myself. She was really good psychotherapist, phenomenal psychotherapist, and we were like friends in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it was just so cool. Shout out to that therapist. Obviously, I'm not going to say who she is, but she's a G.
Yeah, I can piggyback off that. My therapist, well, who once was my therapist, we had to stop because we were like, we're two friends, and she kept going, Rihanna, we gotta stop now. And I'm like, I'm about to say her name, but bleep. I know, we gotta stop. And then every week I'll be back saying, but we did stop, of course. But yeah, no, it was kind of like, and she was a lot older than me, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I mean that I'm quite young, but I have a lot of friends at different ages.
Yeah,
I'm blessed like that. So she could either been like a second mom, a really good, like a really good friend or a big cousin type thing. We got on like a house on fire to the point. Oh, it's bad, to the point that once we stopped. Like, we stopped. Yeah. Everybody that's listening, any agencies or any bodies that are listening, we stopped, yeah. But once we stopped, we used to talk like we're friends. And I knew her business, and she knew mine. Obviously, she knew mine, but you know what I mean? So,
that's different.
That's what I've had. But,
which is a good experience to have, I guess, if you can feel that comfortable with your therapist.
Yeah. And she was also black. And not that means anything, but it means a lot to me.
It means a lot to a lot of people, like we were discussing last time. That the amount of times we can have clients that come in and say, oh my God, I'm so glad that you're a black therapist, or I'm so glad that you're a female sometimes, or sometimes you'll be like, I'm so glad that you have like a cultural perspective. Sometimes there's even like Muslim clients that I've had that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you understand Islam, because there's certain things that like they don't have to start re-explaining or anything like that. So
yeah, no, I mean, I think we said last week that I actively looked for a black therapist.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we all did. Definitely. But I think that was more so because I feel that they could definitely contribute a lot more to your cultural perspective and your experience. Yeah. They may not share everything completely.
No, of course not.
But there's a certain level of understanding, like a ground level of understanding that you know that's going to come there in the therapy room, especially if you're from like whichever diaspora within a Western country. You will definitely know and definitely feel a sense possibly of two identities. So being the identity of your forefathers of like being Caribbean or African or Indian or whatever. And also then having the identity of being British and what that actually means within that context. So you might take certain parts of being British, if you are British, or you might take certain parts of being an American, but you may not take like the whole lot because parts of that history was messed up and was messed up against you. So you can't really take the whole lot. Because even like the other day, I don't know if you guys saw it, Piers Morgan had an argument with some chick about Rule Britannia, the song Rule Britannia. So she was saying that she felt like it should be banned because it was about she was saying it on the piggyback of Lily Allen saying that it should be banned as well. But
never heard anything about it.
Yeah, so she was basically saying like, oh, she thinks it should be banned because it's about slavery and all that kind of stuff, which it kind of is.
Like most of them.
Yeah, because it does say like, Britain will never be slaves. Like, well, yeah, because you enslaved everybody else. But there's always that argument. But yeah, so I think just having that shared kind of cultural understanding of the different parts and the different perspectives of identity, and what makes you up as a person culturally is definitely important.
I agree. So, what was the other topic that you wanted to talk about? Okay. So, I think staying on the topic of black therapists or black therapy, or what I do appreciate is that there are more black people more black therapists coming up.
Yeah. We trying.
And there's more black people or people of what's it called?
Colour.
Yeah.
People of colour.
Psychological therapy. Accessing.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is a great thing. I really, really, really do think it's a great thing. I think that as people, we have a lot of obviously a lot of historic things, but just in everyday life, I think, and I think there's nothing wrong with just going, you know what, I just want to sit down and someone hear my thoughts, my feelings, and just sit with me in them.
Yeah, and
not think, oh, I'm crazy, or because you're not automatically, or you're not automatically depressed because you need to go speak to someone. No, just go and talk.
Yeah, it's just that you're having a hard time. At that moment,
definitely.
Yeah,
the same way you'd go to the hospital with some damage.
Yeah.
Not say that you're damaged by going to counselling, by the way, but just following that principle.
Like if you had a niggling feeling that you just couldn't get rid of physically, you wouldn't just try and go with it. I mean, well, technically, if you're black enough, they'll probably just give you some bush tea and try and hope for the best. But, but if it didn't go away, eventually they would take you to a doctor or someone who heals. So I think that the idea of mental health being somewhere different is a little bit weird because it's still part of you and it's still part of you as your being. So even though you may not feel it physically, as that is part of your being, but you feel it mentally, you feel it emotionally, and that's something that also needs to be taken into account of, especially these days. I think there's a lot of people who try to run away from their emotions, and in doing that, I think it's just dropped resilience. Like, people are finding it so hard to just even deal with emotions. And when they have them, they're like, oh my God, what do I do with this? So that's why it's always to the nth degree. So I don't know if any of you have had, like, any clients that sometimes they'll say, I don't know, they spilt milk and then started, like, getting really angry and then started to mash up the place or whatever else. And it's like, it's something that's so small.
Milk,
yeah, it's not about the milk, obviously. It's not about the milk. There's something else that's going on.
Their cup is full.
Yeah.
And it's runneth over because, the small little drop in that full already bucket is going to tip it out, isn't it? The water. So that's what it is. And you saying something about not physically feeling depressed, but actually I would, as a CPT therapist, argue that it is physical.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. Depression, you'd feel it, but that's not what I meant. What I meant is, like, if you feel something physically, like if something was physically wrong with you, So if you had, like, pain in your side, for instance, and it was there for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks,
I get it.
You'd end up going to the doctor. But
yeah, absolutely.
But we don't do that for our mental
health. Yeah,
we don't do that for our feelings and our thoughts. So,
like,
and stuff.
Our body still aches, though.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
for
real.
It's
very true.
So
your body will react
always
in
a
some
physical something for emotional something.
Yeah, it's true. And I think I even remember, excuse me, having a client who said that she remembers having, like, symptoms of depression when she was younger, but it went away. And it was almost like, now it won't go away. And I was like, yeah, because you didn't deal with it then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It was dormant then.
Yeah.
It went dormant for a little bit.
It went dormant for a little bit, came back, it went dormant for a little bit. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just not forget, but neglect to think about themselves that way.
We don't get taught that at school. We get taught not to be tolerant of people that when they're late, but we don't get taught when to notice trigger signs of stress and depression and anxiousness. We focus on the wrong things, unfortunately. Hopefully the education system might be listening to this podcast and they might think, you know what, they've got a point. We might have to think mental health should be normalized in a sense. And get people educated, man.
Yeah, most definitely.
Gosh.
There's actually a company that I'm trying to do some work with as well called Talk Wellbeing. And they are actually trying that very same thing to try and get into schools, to try and get into educational institutions, to be able to try it and make sure that there's that notice within self about what your trigger signs are, but also for that noticing within each other, and about looking at it holistically as well. So
I'd have benefited from that at school. I didn't realise I was highly anxious until like 15 years after I left school. Highly anxious and quite low, especially when I was young.
Yeah.
Even teachers, I remember a teacher coming up to me and saying, "What's wrong, Nikema? What's wrong?" And I knew there was something wrong, but I couldn't explain it to her. So I kind of said, "Oh, my mum's upset, or the heater might have been left on at home or something. I don't know. I just feel sad." And I obviously was quite depressed that day. And I was usually a happy-go-lucky child generally. I'll never forget that because that really resonated with me.
Yeah. But at least that teacher even took the time to notice.
God bless that teacher. I remember her face. She taught us sewing as well. She was lovely. Lovely lady. Shout out to that teacher at that school that I went to.
You can't even name. But I would say, like, anyone who's listening, and I hope there's quite a few people that are listening to us, but for those that are listening and are wondering about whether should I go and book that appointment to see somebody? Should I, make an inquiry online? Should I call that number? There are loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of support. Loads of support out there for those that. Well, not loads, but there's enough at the minute. Or a few, or whatever. At the minute,
go get help.
There's some. There's something.
There's some. Go and get something. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's like, your, if it's like things like you're taking a walk, getting a bit of fresh air, you're kind of minimizing your time on social media or slash your phone, or do you know what I mean? Like
absolutely. Start small little steps. Yeah,
definitely. I'd agree with that.
And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. That's not for everybody. But if you feel like you know what, I actually just want to sit down and vent, and I just want someone to listen to me, go and do it. Go and vent. Go and call that number that's been on your fridge for ages that you've been ignoring. Do you know what I mean? Just do it. Do it. And also, don't be afraid if the therapist that you are given you don't like.
Very true.
If you do not like her, that's fine. Say I don't like you. No, don't say it like that. But,
don't say
just
that.
say that. Say
that we don't get along.
Yeah,
can
like
I
it's not
one?
meshing. Like I don't.
Or
feel like
just
I could
call
relate
the
to
office and say, "Can I change?"
That too. Call the office or whatever, whichever way. But what I'm trying to say is, don't sit in it. Don't sit in it if you don't like the person, you're not vibing with the person, or you can't relate, or you feel like the person not listening to you. One of the worst things that you can do as a client is sit there and be miserable with this person that you're looking at, especially if you're paying. Don't do it to yourself, because you're not going to get anything from it, and then you're going to take everybody with the same brush, thinking that all therapists are like that, and therapy is rubbish, and it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's actually really good, and it works for those that want it. And so if you don't vibe with your therapist, then say, you know what, can I get somebody else? I don't feel like I vibe well with this person. And more likely than not, they will change that person for you.
That's true. I mean, that's my first session. That's what I say to them.
When I used to,
Yes. Listen, I use my hands a lot, the way I'm quite myself sort of thing. So if this isn't something that you kind of can gel with, or your characteristics don't work with my characteristics, you're going to have to speak to the office or let me know, and I'll either adapt or we'll change therapy.
I used to say to them, I won't be offended, just tell me. It's fine.
I said that, but sometimes they really don't want to say it, so I say,
that's definitely. And I used to ask, like, what do you think about me? No, what was your expectation of me before you met me?
That was awesome. That's awesome. And the first session, right?
Oh God, yeah. Because on the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, my name's Rihanna. What do you think? Do you know what what image do you see before you even
get here. Yeah.
More likely than not, I'm not what they thought I was. Which is fine.
I think I am just because of my name. I think I'm quite ambiguous. So people are just like, I don't know what I'm going to get today. And then when they turn up, they're like, oh, it's you.
It's interesting. I'm not sure. Someone said I thought you was going to be an Asian woman. What happened once?
Asian?
Because of my name.
Okay.
Cool. I think it was because of my name.
I had Asian because of how the Asian culture said my name.
Oh, okay. So that was interesting. But I think I'm going to ask that a little bit more. Thanks, Rihanna.
Yeah, you should.
I'm going to ask them a bit more. I do ask them at the second session, what do you think of the last session? But not necessarily me.
Yeah.
And I think that would be good feedback.
And the reason is just because of what we said earlier. It's just because to make sure that we're vibing.
Checking in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because the majority of therapy is about relationship. And I think it is. Yeah. I think if you're having a therapist, it's almost as deep as like trying to choose a good partner. Because like that person is going to be the one that's rocking with you from wholly and completely until
through
you go through all your crap.
Indifferent, everything.
Most definitely.
And especially if you're paying.
Well.
Especially if it's long term.
Well.
Definitely.
Very true. Very, very true. Okay, ladies. It's been nice talking with you. And we'll talk again next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.